She never knew the power she had until the day she stopped explaining herself. Until the moment she looked in the mirror and didn't recognize the reflection anymore. Her name was Elena, and for years, she had been caught in a cycle so silent, so invisible, that even she couldn't see the chains. She wasn't locked in a room. She was locked inside herself. That's the thing about emotional abuse. It doesn't bruise your skin. It bruises your soul. And no one sees the damage. No one, except the person silently screaming behind the smile. She met him when her heart was open and her boundaries were blurred. Damien wasn't loud. He wasn't aggressive. He was charming, thoughtful, mysterious, and perfectly wounded. The kind of man who pulled you in with his pain and wrapped you in it so gently, you mistook it for love. He said she made him feel safe. Said no one had ever understood him. He saw her light, and instead of protecting it, he used it to warm his cold world. At first, it felt like magic. She felt seen, known, chosen. But what she didn't know was that he wasn't loving her. He was feeding off her. He mirrored her dreams, echoed her values, repeated her words like they were his own. And she, the empath, fell deeper. She thought she'd finally found someone who matched her depth. Someone who could hold the parts of her others had dropped. But the shift came slowly. Subtle, soft, like poison in honey. He started withdrawing, criticizing, comparing her to others. He began responding to her joy with silence, her pain with detachment. One day she laughed too loud, and he called her dramatic. Another day she cried, and he called her manipulative. And she started questioning herself. She started shrinking. The vibrant woman who danced barefoot in the kitchen stopped playing music. The one who used to write poetry at 3 a.m. stopped opening her journal. She didn't notice the silence growing louder between them. Didn't realize she was living in a house built on walking on eggshells. He wasn't always cruel. That's what made it so hard. He would oscillate between tender and terrifying, warmth and winter. Just when she was about to pull away, he'd remind her of the man she fell for. He'd hold her like she was precious, speak to her like she was his only lifeline. And she, craving the high of that early love, stayed. Because trauma-trained empaths don't run at the first sign of pain. They try harder. She believed love could heal him. That if she was patient enough, soft enough, loyal enough, she could be the one to fix him. But you can't love someone into wholeness when they are determined to stay broken. The worst kind of abuse is the kind that makes you think you're the abuser. He made her feel guilty for needing connection. Blamed her for his coldness. Twisted her words until she apologized for breathing too loudly. He mastered the art of emotional withdrawal, leaving her begging for scraps of the affection he once gave freely. And still she stayed, because she remembered the version of him who looked at her like she was magic. And in the illusion of that version, she forgot herself. She forgot that love doesn't make you question your worth. It doesn't make you anxious. It doesn't make you beg. It wasn't a single moment that woke her up. It was a slow rising, like dawn. One night she sat alone, no tears left, no fight left, just a strange stillness. She whispered to herself, "I can't do this anymore." And that whisper cracked the illusion. That whisper was the beginning of everything. She didn't leave him that night, but something inside her did. She began pulling back, not with drama, but with clarity. She started observing instead of reacting. Started journaling instead of arguing. She remembered who she was before him, and that terrified him more than any confrontation ever could. Because narcissists don't fear being yelled at. They fear being seen. They fear losing control. And when she stopped playing the role he wrote for her, he panicked. He tried love bombing again, tried playing victim, tried rewriting history, but she wasn't listening with the same ears anymore. She had grown. She no longer needed to be understood by someone who refused to hear her. She didn't need his permission to reclaim herself. Healing wasn't a straight line. There were nights she still missed the illusion. Nights she dreamed of the man he pretended to be. Trauma bonding is not love, it's addiction. And breaking that addiction meant grieving a fantasy. But every day she chose herself, her light grew. She began painting again, began dancing again, began laughing without looking over her shoulder. She reconnected with friends, read books about boundaries, sat in therapy, and for the first time, the silence she felt wasn't suffocating, it was sacred. He tried to come back. They always do. When they feel the energy shift, when they can no longer feed on your pain, they return not for love but for control. He sent long messages, left voicemails, quoted poetry, blamed childhood wounds, promised change, but the woman who once melted at his words had turned to stone. Not cold, just grounded, solid, unshakable. He no longer had access to her soul. Because she realized something life-changing. The version of her who allowed the abuse no longer existed. You see, when you outgrow a narcissist, it's not just a relationship you're leaving. It's a former version of yourself. The wounded girl, the pleaser, the one who saw the good in everyone but not in herself. That version dies, and in its place, a woman is born. A woman who speaks with quiet conviction. A woman who no longer chases closure. A woman who understands that not every apology is hers to give. A woman who knows that the most radical act of love is choosing peace over chaos. Self-respect over approval. He doesn't understand it. He never will. He'll tell his story, twist the truth, paint her as the villain who walked away. But she doesn't care. Because freedom doesn't come from being believed. It comes from believing yourself. And she finally does. She believes in her worth, in her magic, in her voice. She walks different now, talks different. Not louder, just with more weight, more presence. She doesn't need to prove anything. Her peace is the proof. And if you're listening to this, wondering if you're strong enough to leave, let me tell you, you already are. The fact that you're questioning, doubting, aching for clarity, that's your soul trying to wake you up. You don't have to wait for rock bottom. You don't need to stay just because you once saw potential. You don't owe anyone the destruction of yourself in the name of compassion. You are not too much. You are not broken. You are not unlovable. You are just finally realizing that your love deserves a home, not a battlefield. And the moment you decide to choose yourself, everything shifts. You won't wake up healed, but you'll wake up free, and that freedom will carry you. It will hold you on the hard days. It will remind you why you left, why you stayed gone, why you kept rising. He may still talk about you. He may still stalk your life from the shadows. But he can no longer touch you, because you've outgrown him, spiritually, emotionally, energetically. And that's what narcissists fear the most, not losing you physically, but losing their power over your mind. And once that spell is broken, they become irrelevant, powerless, forgotten. You won't need revenge. You won't crave karma. Your healing will be the loudest silence they've ever heard. So go. Walk into your future with your head high and your heart open. You didn't lose them. You found yourself, and that is the most beautiful ending of all. Because once you outgrow the narcissist, they can't touch your soul again. Not now, not ever.